Hello, intermediate graphic design, and welcome to the May 4th installment of Remote Instruction. So if you were on the Zoom last week, you saw that Sarah was kind enough to figure out how to fix the user limit error. So in other words, if you go to put things up on the discussion post inside of Canvas and you get that error where the user limit has been exceeded, then what you do is you just simply remove some old files that you've uploaded in the past, perhaps from previous discussions. So here's how you do it. You just go into the generic page for Canvas, and up near the Saddleback logo you see Account. You go to Files, and once it takes you inside of Files, you can either pick files from here, or you can go into a particular folder and look at files by date, for example, that you know you no longer need. And so if I had something that I posted a long time ago and I know I don't need that anymore, I can just, oops, don't need to do that. Don't need to select it. You just go over to the dots to the right of it, use the drop down, select delete, select OK, and you'll see that you'll start to get the amount of file space towards your maximum reduced, so that you can start uploading files once again. The discussion post for today, for you to put links to your videos or however you'll be showing your big deal process check that's due for today for the AP Tech contest, is available. And quick reminder to block out from 5 to 7 p.m. for Monday, May 18th for our final exam, which is actually a presentation. And then next week on the 11th, we'll be doing a Zoom meeting as well. And actually, let me mention this in a second here. So yeah, that brings us up to shifting gears to look at what is due for the following week, May 11th. So the AP Tech contest is due, finished. You will need to have, before class starts, the photograph that will be uploaded to the contest. You will put it on the discussion before 5 p.m. The max size for this, per the instructions to the contest, is 10 meg. And I would go somewhere between 8 and 10 meg for this. Unless you caught it at a really small size, which obviously you want to shoot the image at the highest quality you can. So if your phone has multiple image quality settings, put it on the highest one. Now, let's keep this separate. This is for the contest. For the discussion board, if you can't put a 10 megabyte file on there, then you may have to reduce the size. So keep that separate, and even name that for discussion post at the end of it or something like that, so that you know which is the good, big, high quality one for the contest. And if you do have to reduce its size, make sure that you put that in the discussion post as well, so that I know when I look at it that you're not going to upload a small file, because that would affect your grade. So yeah, their maximum size is 10. Note, this is the image for their display case at this big conference in Chicago. It is not your design file. So you would not simply take your design file, say for example, from Illustrator and convert it to a JPEG. This would be an image of the actual mailing piece. Now, you might be thinking, well, mine is pretty complex. How do I capture it with just one image? And the answer is you don't have to. You could have 2 images, you could have 4 images of it, but you can only upload one total image to the contest, but that doesn't mean that you could not stitch multiple images together. And since we won't be meeting in person to do this, I just created and uploaded some videos that explain how to do this in Photoshop, and I'll show you that in a second. But keep in mind, this is the actual photograph of your mail piece, so make sure that the background is not distracting. A good background is often one of those portfolio background pieces, the black mat board, something like that, or otherwise just make sure that the background is very intrusive. You know, I've seen students do it where they take it against a wrinkly sheet on their bed, and it just looks so unprofessional. So do whatever you need to do to come up with the background, and then secondarily you may have to do some editing in Photoshop with the clone stamp tool, for example, to get rid of any distractions in the background. But you do only get to upload one photograph. So yeah, I'm going to show you how in just a second, or where to get the information on stitching the images together. And make sure you make backup copies along the way as you experiment. And I would save them out, once you get going as a Photoshop document. Make a copy of that into another folder somewhere so that if you accidentally do shrink the size down, you can get back to the original one. Okay, so let me show you where those are, and then we'll talk about the rest of this. So what I did was I put them on the profsteveg.wordpress.com site, and I put them where the other turn-in videos were, because I figured that's all file handling related. So you go to turn-in files, and there's two new videos down here that show you how to, starting right here, combine images in Photoshop #1, and then there is a second video in there, and that'll show you all the different scenarios for combining multiple images into one. Equally important on here is a discussion on file size. So starts right here at 707 in here. So if you get to the point where you're ready to save your image, and you save it out and it's like 12 meg, that's a little bit too big. So what do you do to make that file size just a little bit smaller without going way too small? And that's all explained right here. And then between 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m., and please don't do this much earlier than that. What you want to have happen is when we Zoom at 5:30, that you still have your file open in front of you. When I say file, I should have said your entry form opened in front of you, mostly filled out, and then we're going to look at those together, and you're going to submit them, and I'll go over some of that in Zoom. But let me make you aware of this, that if you go into files, there is now a Word doc in here that has, where is it? Yeah, right here, AP Tech Contest. Application info. Download this file. It has all of the information that you need for that entry form from me, my information that they ask for. Now, this is a little bit tricky. Normally what we do is I have you fill this out in class, then I come by, I look at it, and then I put my digital signature. So I'm going to give you permission to use a certain form of my initials as my signature for this, because it's the only way that it really works out. I don't want to have all your personal information, like your home address and stuff, and and have to fill that out here. So you'll do the form, you'll submit it, and then it will come to my email. But what I will do is check the emails while you're in Zoom, and then I will email the form back to you. So it's a very important Zoom night that you don't leave the Zoom meeting until A, I've looked at your image that you're going to submit for the contest, and then B, that I've looked at your enrollment form, should say entry form, for the contest. C, that that I've actually looked through that and then said, yes, go ahead and use my special quasi version of the signature to put on there, that you email it, and then that I receive confirmation. All of this while you're still on Zoom. It usually goes pretty quick though. And then I go to my email and forward that email to you, and then you make sure that you received the email. And then all you need to do from there is print the email, or the what am I saying? Entry form, that you printed the entry form, put that and your actual mailer, and sent it off to the contest. Last week I mentioned to read the rules for the contest again, and there is one thing in the rules that does say, and this was a question that came up the other day, do I need to make an envelope for it? Well, it does say that it needs to be addressed to an individual. So you have to make up a fictitious individual that this is going to, and there's no way to do that unless you're just doing a postcard. And as we said before, just a postcard on its own isn't going to win the contest, without some kind of special thing as technique or whatever. And if you have like a label on there with the person's address right on the same thing, I think it's really going to take from it. So I would design this thing as beautifully as possible, and then also design the mailer itself, the thing that it goes in. So again, read the rules, and it'll help you once again put yourself in the judge's position, get an idea of what they're looking for, and the cash prizes are nothing to sneeze at on this contest, and we have won it before, and I hope that we will do it again. All right, so just a reminder, we're still talking about the 11th. And then there's nothing due again on WordPress, but this will be your actual or your last chance in Zoom to get any feedback or help before the final presentation on our final day, the 18th. So I just want to make sure that I put the requirements in writing for you here of the portfolio site. The blog must be removed unless you actually have a good reason for it on a portfolio site. Like I said, usually that's quite unusual, but if you are so passionate about design that you will be using that to talk about design and actually have started doing that by the final day of class, then it's okay to leave it on there. But otherwise, if it's just sitting on there wasting space, the project would be marked down for that. It needs a contact page, and this is an actual contact page with a contact form, and then it needs a portfolio on there with these images being the minimum that must be on there, and they're all from this class, so I know everyone can do this. The resume from the class, and now however I would recommend that you remove the resume as soon as the final is over, because you really don't want a resume that was designed for print on a inside of a digital format like web. It just doesn't work right. You make the portfolio inside of the program, like Dreamweaver or in this case WordPress, and you make it so that it looks good on a page in there digitally. You could have this as a download option, turn it into a PDF, but I do want to see it on the final, so it will be one of the things in your portfolio on the final. Also, that plant sale poster will be in there. The poster or other item that you did for the early contest, the other choices were t-shirts, logos, so show that. The student handbook cover, and then finally the final image that you use for the AP Tech contest. Okay, so we will see you inside the Zoom, and we'll go from there.